seeing their benefits devalued after they've worked hard to earn them. And what I mean by that is many people that work at a place for a long time or in a career for a long time, they negotiate hard for their benefits. They take jobs based on the benefits that a company offers them. And I believe, I'm not sure how many of you believe, but I believe that these benefits shouldn't be devalued by the government. I don't believe that government should step in and force businesses to offer their employees more benefits. Because the more benefits a company voluntarily offers, the more skilled workers that business is able to recruit. And by forcing businesses to offer those benefits, you diminish the competition between businesses in terms of trying to get workers to come and work for them. And that is included in pay, that's included in days off, vacation, sick days, maternity leave for males or females, all that jazz. These are all very important things that employees consider when deciding whether or not to take a new job or take a promotion, or even a pay raise. Many Americans, for example, they may not get a pay raise, but they can certainly get, an increase in paid days off, sick or vacation. And it just is irksome when the government tries to step in and say you have to offer X benefits. Because what they're saying is we want, as the government, to force these businesses to offer you these benefits or we're going to fine them. And it comes back to this use of force thing. Government, and I know a lot of you may not agree with this, but government is force. Everything government does, it does at the point of a gun. Because if they don't pay their taxes, they'll seize them. If they don't pay fines for not offering the benefits, they can't. If they can't offer a certain salary and the government requires it, then they'll be forced to pay fines. Usually, you can have the Federal Trade Commission laying up fines on people, and sometimes you see it and it's reasonable when it comes to stuff like defunct airbags and stuff like that, and it is, you can understand it in some cases. I would argue it's not usually necessary, because when you've got massive recalls, you're usually getting free repairs with that. You're usually, you have, anytime people have died as a result of a negligent business, you can go to court and get that taken care of, as opposed to a big fat fine to the government. Because quite frankly, if I'm injured by a product, I want that money because I was injured. I don't want the government to get money for that. They're just going to send that money elsewhere. I was the one that was hurt. And when it comes to forcing them to pay benefits, that can actually hurt employees in terms of more hours being forced to work, more days being forced to work, less vacation. It will come from somewhere. Businesses have a finite number, a set number of things that they can offer, and usually when they're negotiating with employees, they're trying to lowball you, but that's negotiation in general. But B, they're not offering you something because they think, oh, we're only going to do this because we don't have to do more than that. They try to offer you something reasonable. That's how a voluntary trade works. You're not going to trade your car for a crappier one because you were told to do so. You're going to try and trade your car based on what's best for you. Anytime you go to the store, you buy things based on how much money you're willing to spend on something. And that's not any different when it comes to businesses offering benefits. A great example being Starbucks. Starbucks is able to offer its employees higher than minimum wage pay in most states, in most places. They also offer, educational benefits, health benefits, and stuff like that. But they're able to do it by choice. That's also why your coffee costs an insane amount of money when you go there. But they're able to do it because they have the resources to do that. They make enough money to where they can offer their employees that benefit. and because they want to entice better employees to come work for them. Perfect example being, go to a Starbucks and try to order something and see how many times you get it correct. See how well the employees treat you. See what kind of a quality drink you get. Then go to Jack in the Box. And this is just one example. You can use any fast food chain. I'm just using Jack in the Box as an example. Go to Jack in the Box, where you're going to pay not very much for your food, and see if it's correct, and see if the presentation is nice, and see if the drive-through window person is nice to you and treats you very courteously. And the difference is clear. Not to say that Jack in the Box is bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just they're not going to offer you the same quality as something that costs a lot more, like a Starbucks drink. I mean, when you go to Jack in the Box, you're not buying a $5 latte. You're getting a $5 box of food and being sent on your way. And your burger may be wrong. But, again, not to disparage that company at all. You'd have that problem at any fast food restaurant. But then, when you go to, say, Chick-fil-A, you're going to spend a little more money than you would at McDonald's or Jack in the Box or Taco Bell. But generally speaking, you're going to get a lot more courtesy out of it, and they're going to treat you differently. You're going to get a nicer environment in the store itself, sometimes. The majority of the time, in my personal experience. And that's just the way it is when somebody charges more for a product. So, when you go forcing it, you're just going to end up messing things up for businesses and for employees, for Americans, average Americans. And that is absolutely linked in the same way that Obamacare was bad for Americans, in the same way that minimum wage increases hurts Americans. And when the president comes out saying, I want to give you free stuff, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, who's paying for it? Where is that benefit coming from? They're either forcing a business to do it, and it'll come out in the form of new fees, or less hiring, or less expansion. Or in the case of Obamacare, massive insurance premium costs. And that's just the way the economy works. So when Obama comes out and says, I want more sick paid leave for all Americans, that's a great thing to say. Sure, we all would like to have jobs that offer more sick leave. That's just the way, we always want more. We're Americans. But getting it through legislation, making it happen through the government, is inherently wrong. There's something morally wrong about it, and it actually hurts people. And I cannot stand how the media portrays these proposals. They make it look like he's some great benefactor, some benevolent ruler that's just trying to give more to the people, and that's not the case. He's trying to take more from businesses to give you more that you will pay for in some way, shape, or form. That includes your benefits. The best example being minimum wage increases. You're seeing more and more instances from companies of trying to institute, electronic cashiers and stuff, so they don't have to hire the personnel to pay the extra benefits. And so you'll see less jobs overall. Now, in the instance of the free community college stuff, that actually devalues the degrees of everyone who has paid for it. Because when you see a massive increase of people that are getting an education, everybody else that's got one, theirs gets a little less valuable. So all that student loan debt they get, all of that extra work they did to go to college, it gets devalued. And that's why now you see degrees being required for jobs that didn't previously require them. You see people not judging employees based on their skill, but setting as a blatant prerequisite to getting hired somewhere for a degree. I mean, we're lucky we haven't gotten a fry cook degree at community colleges for people to flip burgers. But that's the world we're coming to. The further we push people into education when they don't need it. And I know that we're all brought up and raised and pushed into this whole you have to go to college, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. But in reality, the most booming industries in this nation right now, oil and gas being the chief among them. You don't need a college degree to do a lot of that. You need work experience or a trade school. You need to learn to weld and read x-rays and draft. But those things are not accomplished at a community college per se. They are accomplished at trade schools, apprenticeships, and getting that first job as a helper and getting the work experience. And the more you push into education, the more you push into community colleges, the more these jobs, these entry-level jobs for people who don't have an education, the more they disappear. And some people with test anxiety and with scheduling and with bills, they cannot afford to spend 2 years in community college. They can't afford to spend the time. So even with the added benefit of not having to pay tuition, which a lot of people don't anyway because of financial aid and student loans, you just destroy the system on which the free market is, the system that the free market is built. Of people gaining skills to get certain sets of jobs. If you're forcing people into the education when it's not necessary for the field, the market responds by increasing its standards for employees. And the more that standard for employees goes up, the harder it is to get workers that can meet it. And so really what you end up doing is hurting the poor, especially if they can't pass the basics at a community college. Now, while a lot of educated people will look back on their first 2 years of college and, their math and science and English and history and think, well, that's not so bad. There's a lot of people that they weren't made for school. They weren't made to do this. They can't write the essays. They can't digest that amount of information. I mean, we're not all created equal in our abilities. And that's just the way life is. But you know what? Some people can weld. I can't weld. I cannot weld. I know how to turn on a blowtorch, kind of. But I would probably burn a building down before I ever got it right. And I have no desire to do that. And, in my line of work, I don't need to know chemistry or biology. I mean, a basic understanding helps with stories and stuff. But I don't have to have the periodic table memorized. I don't have to be able to do matrices in college calculus. I don't have to be able to do that stuff.